This is where children belong. Welcomed as part of our worshiping throng. Water, God's word, bread, and cup, prayer and song. This is where children belong. My mic is not on. Doug, if you could turn on my red mic. If you could turn on my red mic. Okay, I'll use this one. No problem. Let's see, we'll just use this one instead. Oh, are we working now? Yeah. Let's use this one. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Okay, we'll use this one. Okay, have you guys ever been lost? You have? You've gotten lost before? Or have you ever gotten forgotten? No. You got forgotten? You've gotten lost. I got forgotten once. I was little. I'm glad my parents said they might be here today. I'm kind of glad they're not here. Because I think they wouldn't want me telling this story. But when I was a kid, we went to the church together every Sunday and every Sunday night and every Wednesday and throughout the week. We were there a lot. So it felt like kind of my second home. I think you guys feel that way. Like some of you, I see you after church. This is kind of like very comfortable for you. You don't have a problem going in wherever you go, running around and going into different rooms. And that's how I felt when I was at my church when I was a kid. And my parents often drove separate because maybe my mom had a Sunday school class to teach or my dad had a meeting or something. There was always a reason they often drove separate. Well, one Sunday, they get home. They had driven separate and said, "Where's Wendy?" They both forgot me. Neither one of them remembered to bring me home. I think they each thought the other person had me. And there I was at church by myself. I had been forgotten. Now, I didn't care. It was no big deal because I knew all the people at the church and someone took me home. It was just not a big deal. They're like, "Oh, Wendy's parents left. No big deal. We'll just drive her home," because it was a small church. And kind of like if you got left behind here, wouldn't pretty much everybody just say, "Hey, Jeremiah, I'll give you a ride home"? No big deal. It really wasn't a big deal, but it was kind of funny. I'm sure my parents probably aren't thrilled with the story of forgetting me at church, but I don't think they did it on purpose, right? But in today's scripture story, we hear about how Jesus was not necessarily left behind, but kinda. He was 12 years old. 12? 13. Close to Jeremiah's age. 12 years old. And they had been kind of traveling. And Jesus is at a temple, a church, kind of let's pretend like a building kind of like this. And he's talking with all the teachers of the church, the leaders. And he's asking them questions, and he's asking them questions, they're asking him questions, and he's spending days at this church, like learning and listening and trying to grow and understand more. But his parents have no clue where he is. Now, my parents probably were worried for about all of 10 seconds because I'm sure they figured out real quickly I was going to be picked up and brought home by somebody. No big deal. But Jesus' parents, Mary and Joseph, they didn't know where he was for days until they found him at the church, at the temple, at the tabernacle. And they were relieved. But they probably were pretty panicked. Have you ever lost something that was really important to you? Like maybe homework or an important toy, something that was really important, and you panic? But here's the great part of the story. Mary and Joseph didn't know where Jesus was, but Jesus knew where he belonged. He knew. He never is lost. He knows exactly where he's supposed to be at all times. And that's a pretty good quality if Jesus is asking us to follow him and learn from him and be a person of love and joy and patience and kindness and forgiveness and healing. It's important that we're following someone who always knows the way, who never is lost, because we want to follow somebody that knows exactly where we're going. Because sometimes the world is scary and hard and difficult, and sometimes we need to talk to God and say, "I don't know what's happening here, but I need help. I need direction. I need some guidance." And Jesus always knows the way. He's never lost. And I think that's some pretty good news for today. Now, today is a little bit different because it's a fifth Sunday. We're not heading upstairs. We're going to be sitting up here, and I have plenty of things to keep your little hands occupied. So you guys are welcome to go back and sit down there or sit back with your grown-ups.